Good evening and welcome to the CASAA update for the week of 8/1/2016. Hi, Alex, and how are you this evening?
Good. I accidentally took a very, very long nap.
Well, you probably needed one. You've been traveling around the country like a maniac. What's been happening?
Oh, man. I'm home for more than 24 hours. It's great.
Wow. So you get to see your wife.
Oh, no, she's still in Montreal, so we haven't quite accomplished that yet. So last time we spoke, I was in D.C.
Yes.
And that was good. We Julie and I were there. We got some media training. So that was good. And I had an opportunity to try and put that to use today. Kind of spur of the moment, ended up on, I guess it's kind of an online radio show.
Okay.
Excuse me, I really needed a sip of water. With the Libertarian Professor.
Okay.
Let me see if I got his name right here. His name is Scott.
Okay.
And his name is Scott Ford. He's from Texas.
Okay.
And actually found out that he is running for Texas. I don't know if it's Senate or House, but
okay.
He's running for a position in the Texas legislature.
Okay.
So if you live in Texas, definitely do a little bit of research on one of your candidates, Scott Ford. That's state legislature.
Okay.
And he actually went to a vape event this past weekend and ended up doing an interview with the guy that runs the vape shop there, and found all about the deeming regulations. So that was a good conversation with him, and we'll put the replay up in CASAA channels, wherever that will go. I was on there with Jeff Stier from the National Center.
Did you have a good time?
It was a good chat, and I realize once again the value of everything that we do, because there are still just millions of people out there who don't fully understand what's happening, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to speak to somebody who is a non-smoker, a non-vapor, and just this guy's a libertarian, so genuinely interested in the free market solution to the smoking issue.
Right.
So that was good and totally a
that's
surprise.
Cool. I found that's completely a surprise. So I found, I think, his show page.
Nice.
So I can give you that. So yay. I stuck that in the chat for anybody who's interested, and I'll add it to the notes for the podcast later. So that was good. How's Jeff Stier doing? Still fighting the good fight?
Jeff seemed well and always and on point as always.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an interesting way to something to do out of the blue on a Monday afternoon after traveling all over the place and speaking mostly to vapors. So this past weekend, I was in Washington State in Tacoma.
Right.
And I went out there. I met up with Stefan, Didak, from Not Blowing Smoke, for those who don't know. And we hung out with the Pink Lung Brigade, who have been absolutely vital to the fight in Washington State. This is the scrappy group of vapors and vapor businesses that got together, I guess, 2011,
right?
2012. It's been around for a while, and that was I believe, their first battles with taxes in Washington, if I remember correctly. And this has been a fight that's sort of come back every year. And this year they were instrumental in getting a decent law passed that I have to review it in order to get all of the details. But I remember looking at it and thinking that the only reason that CASAA wasn't going to get behind it was because it had a labeling provision in there.
Right.
But the labeling provision has a sunset provision, which means that as soon as the FDA regulations become effective, the Washington law stops being the Washington law. So that was a pretty quick turnaround there.
That makes sense.
But otherwise, it I believe defines vapor products separately from tobacco and from cigarettes. Yeah. And it was generally a decent law. It built in some protections for the industry. So
sure.
Those guys were vital to it, and I was generally really excited. I've never met anybody from the Pink Lung Brigade, so it was really valuable to get out there and put faces to Facebook profiles and stuff. So it was good.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So you had a lot of fun. You met a lot of people, I'm guessing.
I'm like not the most fun person in the world, traditionally speaking, but it was very good to meet those folks, and it's great to meet other people in their state associations, especially a group that's been successful and has been doing this for a while, because we have a lot to learn from each other. And I value that very highly. So, just really looking forward to working with them going forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do want to say I see a lot of vendors seem to be confused about the 8th. Once again, I notice a lot of Facebook messages and emails, and people are just really at a loss. And that's still kind of surprising to me, because we've known about this coming for quite some time.
Yeah, and fortunate for you, you don't also see the phone calls. That's a pretty daily thing. I think I may have helped tamp that down a bit, because small businesses are also a bit confused about what CASAA does.
Yeah.
And I, look, I'm not insensitive to this. There has been, well, first of all, there are just so many businesses. I mean, we've got to be over 10,000. I think somebody may have said 14,000 businesses across the country. And, of that 14,000, there were about 1,000 that were members of SFATA. And of course, not all of those are small businesses. Some of them are larger manufacturers. And so it really is, it's kind of funny, living in a digital world, we think that everybody's on Facebook and information just flows freely and everybody knows exactly what they need to know when they need to know it. But it is quite remarkable that despite how digital we've gotten, there's still a need for face-to-face, word of mouth and in print information for people. Yeah. So this is a great example, just getting the word out about the federal government isn't doing a job of actually communicating to the public that this is happening. The FDA is not going to take out a billboard and say, hey kids, remember on August 8th, don't sell to the minors and some other stuff.
Yeah.
But so I have spent quite a bit of time actually, and my the standard standard qualification that I give is, we are a consumer organization, and we deal mostly with the consumer side of this.
Right.
So I'm happy to share with you what I know about the deeming regulations, but none of this is advice to industry. Certainly not legal advice. So yeah, I've gotten questions about what's the deal with sampling. Can I let people under the age of 18 into my shop? What was the other one? Those are two of the big ones. I'm sure there's like 5 questions that people have been asking. Oh, can I rebuild coils? And all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, and I had said to me, this is actually kind of a thing that I got from Greg Conley.
Right.
If you manufacture coils in your store, technically after the 8th, you can do it. It's just the reason why a lot of us are sort of speculating that it will be it'll go away and why people may choose to not do it is because it's very difficult to make the same coil every single time unless you are a master. Now, I met a guy in Washington. I'm going to take another sip of water.
Okay, sure. Yeah, a lot of people are masters at this stuff.
Yeah, so I met a guy in Washington who, unfortunately, I'm not going to mention his product, but he's a master at building coils by hand, and he is skilled enough that he can do it the same way every single time and quickly. And so, he's not one of these, crafts people who's sitting behind the counter at a vapor shop and also does other stuff, also sweeps up the floor. That's his business. He makes coils for a living. And so someone like him who can do the same product consistently over and over again, he's got a lot to go through in order to make sure that he can, demonstrate what his products are. But he will likely be able to stay in business. Now, if he can do it, I'm sure that there are several other talented people out there who have the same, relatively the same skills and can offer the same service. You just have to be able to document it and be able to demonstrate, if asked, that the 0.5 ohm coil that you sold a month ago is the same as the 0.5 ohm coil you're selling in 3 weeks from now.
Right.
That's what they're going to be looking for. Sure. And if it's a 0.59 coil or 0.55 coil, there's that potential that the FDA is going to say, well, this is a totally different product, and you don't have this in your system. So this is a new product. You can't sell it. You can sell a 0.5 ohm coil, but not 0.55. So, and I don't really know. Nobody really knows what, whether or not there's going to be kind of a limit on the, if there's going to be a threshold of variance within the product. Certainly in every other industry, things that there is a bit of variance there, and there are acceptable limits that you can have. We just don't know what that is. And so generally speaking, and as an effective way to raise some awareness, people should be aware that things like that are likely going to disappear.
Yeah, it's a difficult time, and I know you and I actually both commented on a post where someone was saying to buy juice, they had to take a selfie of themselves holding their license and send it to the vape shop so that they could get a code to type into the website so that their order could go through. That sort of age verification is going to become really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what the FDA accepts.
Yeah, and to expand on that a bit, actually, Stefan and I, we talked about this on the Uber ride back to the airport, and that is one particular product that retailers will have, online retailers, will have to choose from.
Right.
And there are no, I mentioned this, I think, in one of our newsletters, one of the updates, that currently, the deeming regulations say starting on August 8th, all sales, you have to be able to, first of all, you can't sell to anybody under 18, and
Sure.
somehow you have to verify, at least for online sales. Actually, I can't remember if they specifically get into online sales. If an inspector comes in, and by the way, and this is not something that we covered the first time, but it's worth bringing up again. Another piece of advice that Greg is fond of putting out there is, retrain your staff, and this isn't CASAA advice to industry. I'm just reporting the news here.
Okay.
But retrain your staff to be aware that there are going to be undercover compliance inspections, and these are, it's suspected that these could be young, attractive girls or boys who are able to charm the pants off of your employees and get your staff to do things that they wouldn't normally do, and so on. So, and you may be inspected and not even realize it. So,
Yep.
But to bring that back to coil building, if you build a coil that's 0.5 ohms on August 9th, and then on September 15th they come back and that same product measures out at 0.55,
right?
They may say that, well, you're manufacturing a new tobacco product, and you can't continue to do this without a PMTA.
Okay.
That's how I suspect that will happen. You will get a warning to remove that product from the market, and you could maybe take that a step further, and they may say that you're just not doing this consistently enough that you can continue offering this product without some sort of substantial upgrade to your facilities, or however that is. And of course, in a manufacturing environment, the FDA may deem that standing behind a counter in the open vape shop is not a sanitary enough condition. So lots of things to consider in manufacturing generally. But as a general piece of advice, it's the consistency that's going to be the issue, and making sure that you have a specific way to that 0.5 ohm, that 0.6 ohm, et cetera.
Right.
That particular coil is listed separately in your catalog, or whatever it's got its own SKU. It's got its own PLU on the point of sale system, what have you.
Right.
So that's that, and then there's also sort of the sort of subversive angle to this that I would love to see shop owners actually be able to pull off, which is come December 31st, you have to register all of these products. So I could imagine that thousands of shops across the country logging or registering, I don't know how many different combinations of coils that people could build, but sending that in and making the FDA check all of that, I think would be wonderful. So
I think the Center for Tobacco Products is going to be drowning in not PMTAs, but registrations for a while, a lot longer than they think.
That could keep them very busy. And from a consumer perspective, I totally think that's a great idea. Not necessarily the best industry advice, but to kind of help consumers make the point just how important the variety of products are to our continued success. I would absolutely love to see that. So that was the coil thing. I think I expanded on that a little bit.
You did.
And then I guess after that we went into age verification.
What Yeah. What I was going to say is, so if you sell pre-made coils, will you actually have to put this product is made or derived from tobacco on the coil package if you sell it?
No.
No.
Um,
Okay. So
and
we've decided that's ridiculous.
well, it's not entirely ridiculous, and I this was a source of confusion for me as well. And then I've had a couple of different people um, give me the different opinion on that particular. It's a paragraph in the deeming regs.
Yeah.
So my initial understanding was that this particular provision it's specifically for actual tobacco products that have been denicotinized. For
Okay.
example, there is or will be a combustible tobacco cigarette out there that doesn't have any nicotine.
Oh, right. The very low, like the very low nicotine cigarettes, that sort of thing.
Well, that would be a very low nicotine
Okay.
cigarettes. We're talking about tobacco products that don't contain any nicotine. Um, they are actually made from leaf tobacco, but there's
But they
no
have no
nicotine in it.
nicotine.
Just imagine the process by which cigarette manufacturers make sheet tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
All of the flavors and all of the natural flavors and the chemicals that occur naturally in a leaf of tobacco are stripped out until you're left with just cellulose, and then
Paper.
they put all that stuff back in and regulate the levels and change a lot of things. The same process can be used to make a zero nicotine tobacco leaf product. So it was my understanding that that provision applied to that.
Okay.
However, I've heard other people say that sort of it's sort of a CYA that
Right.
you as a manufacturer would put that same warning on a bottle of 0 milligram nicotine.
Okay.
Um, I'm not in the business of telling people to do things that are going to put their business in jeopardy.
Right.
But to me, it does seem this whole thing seems extraordinarily silly. So there's that. But as far as the federal government requiring people to put this product is made from tobacco on a bottle of liquid that has no nicotine in it, that the manufacturer would be able to verify that there is no nicotine in it. That just seems that is stupid.
Well, that's an outright lie.
I know that. Yeah, I know that we can, make our typical cynical comment about the government and regulations and so on.
I'm not.
This is stupid even for them. So, I don't see that is the thing. And from what I understand, the labeling on your bottle is the labeling on your bottle. If you have to change the labeling to accommodate a warning label, that's not something that should require you to get a PMTA for that bottle. I don't know now, and I want somebody to check this, because you should. If you're a manufacturer, you should be checking this yourself. I
Get a lawyer. Get a lawyer.
I do know that there is, I believe it was a state law. I for some reason I feel like I'm getting confused between what is written in the federal code and what is a state law. But I have seen it written somewhere that making a change to accommodate a warning label does not mean that you are making a new tobacco product or a new thing. It's something that's required by law.
I think I read that somewhere in the 400 pages from hell.
And it has to be the case because the FDA will, likely be updating warning labels at some point in the future. So and that would be unfair to everyone to suddenly say that, like, okay, so now you got to put our new warning label on here, and everybody has to go through the PMTA process again. That would be assuming that anybody actually gets through the PMTA process the first
Sure.
time. So, so yeah, that's that. I just,
Okay.
ugh.
Yeah. Oh, no. I'm not right there with you because, like I said, I only really see like the Facebook posts and messages and emails, and that's kind of what I respond to. I can't imagine how many phone calls you get.
They've tapered off this past weekend. Actually, last week I got a bunch, and
Right.
I think a lot of it was, all of a sudden people realized that the child nicotine poisoning, uh, child nicotine poisoning prevention
Prevention Control
act,
Yeah.
packaging act was a thing, and were suddenly keyed into, oh my God, there's laws affecting my business, and people started, turning over rocks and realizing that a lot of this other stuff is right around the corner too. So we got a bunch of calls last week. I really couldn't get to them. I had over 20 voicemails that I just could not answer until this past weekend.
Wow.
And I don't even think I managed to return more than one or two of those calls. And most of them were, I have little tags on the notes that I wrote to myself, and most of it was FDA packaging. Sorry, there's an ambulance driving by my house.
That's okay.
So, yeah, we're getting lots of inquiries.
Sure.
And then, so did we want to rehash the age verification stuff? Did we lose all of that?
I don't know. Did anybody hear us talking about the guy who had to take a selfie of himself with his ID to buy e-liquid online, and then he had to send it to the shop owner to get a code to go on the website to be able to pay for his order? Because if nobody heard about that, that's just one of the ways that people online are actually trying to verify your age. Okay, we had just started that. That was one of the very last things we talked about. Just that part. Okay.
So, to maybe rehash just a little bit, I was in an Uber with Stefan Didak on our way back to CTAC this weekend, and he mentioned that this is a product that online retailers can use for age verification, and it basically matches up your current kind of selfie that you're asked to take at the moment with your driver's license picture.
Right.
And this is just going to be kind of one of the ways in one of the products that people can use to satisfy the age verification requirements for online sales.
Sure.
But as it stands now, the deeming regulations don't actually spell out in detail what they expect from some sort of online age verification software.
Right.
The examples that we have, and I kind of speculated about this in our newsletter, the examples that we have of what will be acceptable come from state laws where they have stated that you need to use some sort of commercially available third-party database that cross-references the information on your driver's license with the information on your credit card and so on, and verifies that you are an adult. That level of detail is not fleshed out in the deeming regulations. They just say, don't sell to anyone under 18, and kind of leave it up to businesses to figure that out on their own. So it'll be an interesting thing to watch to see whether or not the federal government steps in again and further gets specific on what they will accept. And I think that there are some lawyers, combing over that particular provision and trying to figure out, what satisfies some sort of, verifying this with some sort of government information as well.
Sure.
So the selfie driver's license thing seems like a good solution, but I'm not entirely sure that alone will satisfy the age verification requirements.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going by biometrics data alone, yeah, maybe, but even that can be hacked to some degree. Computers can be fooled to some degree, so God knows what they're going to want. And it is unfortunate that they don't spell it out for people, because people are going into this blind and just doing the best they can.
Yeah. And the rest of it, they're just really not doing a very good job of communicating the details of this. And they're part of that is because if they get too specific about things, then they, I think, expose themselves to some sort of liability. So for the most part, the industry is just left to kind of figure it out on their own. And, the FDA really does not understand this industry. They don't understand the effect of all of this on consumers. And so to steal a bit of somebody else's phrase, we're all sort of the FDA's guinea pigs in this.
Sure. I know because I do use snus. And I have a friend who lives overseas. I'm not going to say where, but she lives on a military base. And buying snus where she lives is about 100 times more prohibitively expensive than it is for me. And I have a 99% of wholesale tax that I have to pay on snus here. So you can imagine what the tax is like where she lives. Well, she uses snus. So I put in an order. And UPS, they don't get your driver's license or anything, but they come to your house, and whoever answers the door better be over 18. They better be able to produce a driver's license, and the signatures better match, or you don't get your order, and they just leave.
Is it 21?
Yeah.
So you got to be 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing that consumers should be aware of here, that the age verification services that are offered by FedEx and UPS and I don't know if USPS does it, but those are for 21 and over.
Yep.
And they cost more money. So at the very least here, depending on how the retailer chooses to ship these things, first you're looking at more expensive for shipping. Second, you're looking at, if you're under the age of 21, not being able to receive mail orders. So any of those 18, 19-year-old people who had the limited privilege of being able to quit smoking by switching to vapor products, and you depend on vapor products in the mail, you may be looking at trying to find a different option soon.
Yeah, it really is. It's really sad that it's just all up in the air. It's all kind of regulating off the cuff, it seems like. Some things are well thought out and others are just not. The age verification is not well thought out at all. At all.
No. Yeah, it's all very pie in the sky.
Someone's asking me about lawsuits. You want to go to the website Tobacco on Trial every day and check for lawsuit updates, because they'll be there. You don't have to get a Pacer account. You can just go right to the website, tobaccoontrial.com, and all the legal documents for the day will be there. And you can get them in PDF format. That's how I've been keeping up with the legal stuff.
That's good.
I just figured I'd let people know that. I'm sorry.
No, I rely on like email messages from Julie or somebody saying, "Hey, there's a lawsuit."
Nobody says anything to me, so I just go looking for it. But that's a good reference point for consumers who are curious about the legal matters, especially the lawsuits. Okay, sorry about that. Go ahead, Alex.
No worries. Good bit of information. I guess those are kind of the popular questions. The other question I've gotten is, will vape meets continue? Will expos continue? The free sampling or sampling in general. I think a lot of people are confused about the difference between sampling and free sampling.
Right.
It's really just an exchange of money. And I'm not going to lay down a dollar amount that people need to charge, but as far as the FDA is concerned, as long as you're not giving it away for free, you can continue to allow customers to sample. And another very important point to bring up that tends to get lost is, people are kind of confused as to what it means now that the federal government defines this as a tobacco product. Unless your state law is written to specifically reference the federal, the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations,
Right.
as to where they get their tobacco definition from, your state has to go back and update their tobacco definition, and they usually have to do it in different parts of the code. So, there's a portion that's for taxes, there's a portion that's for public health, and or wherever else smoking or tobacco would fall. And so, it is possible in state codes to redefine tobacco for the purposes of taxation, and then you have to go back in again and redefine tobacco for the purposes of prohibiting use somewhere. So all of that to say that just because the federal definition changes, this does not automatically include vaping in all the various states' indoor clean air laws, that's a question that we get quite a bit. So if your state doesn't specifically prohibit vaping indoors, you can allow people to use the products in your vape shop, and as long as you're charging a reasonable fee, people can continue to sample the product in your shop.
Okay. Yay.
Which is very important from a consumer perspective.
Exactly.
I think that covers quite a few of the questions. And I'd rather end on some good news. If we're through, are we through the?
I think we are.
CASAA interprets the deeming regulations portion of the show.
Yes. Sorry.
Hey, no, it's good. I need to.
Then you can just give people a link.
I can give people the link
to the podcast when they call up and what do I do about this? What about that? You can give them a link to the podcast and they can listen.
Yeah, I could do that.
Well, I mean, for your voicemail messages, maybe.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. This was really not a comprehensive overview of what is going on, but I do, we did cover some of the very important things that are happening come next Monday. That's kind of difficult to say. Yeah. And actually, I just want to make sure that yes, it is next Monday, August the 8th. So this is going to be a really interesting week. But this weekend, I had I was originally supposed to go to South Dakota, and we were going to this event in South Dakota. It was a little bit smaller than what we're normally used to going to, but we are anticipating. There is, I believe, a tax ballot initiative in North Dakota this year, and it will include a tax on vapor products. So I was hoping to be in South Dakota to meet with advocates there, and open channels of communication, and generally kind of get started on that issue. But the event canceled because lots of vendors backed out at the last minute. I know that there are several different reasons for vendors to not go to these events, especially on the eve of the effective date of deeming. But I can say that, other than age verification and charging for free sampling, that there's nothing in the deeming regulations preventing these events from continuing. And given that they sort of have that traveling revival kind of potential there, where you're traveling, these events are traveling to various cities and drawing in smokers that may be curious about the products.
Sure.
By all means, that aspect of these events should continue. And I hope to see a lot of this come back once people realize that they can continue. And we still have, a few more events to do this year. We're going to be in Oklahoma City. I plan on going to VCC in Chattanooga. VaporCon is in Richmond, and may potentially be going to something in Oregon in November. So haven't fully fleshed all of that out, but those are events, and they're still going on. So but because I am no longer going to South Dakota, I now get to redirect and go to Milwaukee for the North American premiere of A Billion Lives. And anybody who's been dialed into this and following this knows that now there are some very important people coming to this premiere. And one of them, of course, is Senator Ron Johnson. Yes. So I am super excited to go meet Senator Johnson and some other people that are going to be there. And Aaron is a great guy, and it'll be great to see him in his hometown enjoying some success after pouring his soul into this movie. And so I'm, myself, Julie Wessner, I believe Kristen Noel Marsh. I can't remember if there's anybody else from CASAA going, but so we will be there this weekend. And if you're within driving distance of Milwaukee, you vape, or even if you don't vape and you want to know what's going on, this movie is for people that are not necessarily from the vapor world.
Sure.
This is meant to kind of this movie, from what I understand, speaks to non-smokers, non-vapors, people who have questions about the products, about the industry, and about how they have affected people like me and the benefits that they provide. So if you and your friends are within driving distance, get some tickets and go to the premiere. And we're going to have an awesome time.
Yeah. I'm jealous. I'm so jealous. I am. I hope, and I hate to say this because I know people freak out when I say it, but there's a movie theater chain down here that showed Vaxxed. Okay. And I know people get turned off when I say that. Believe me, I get that. But I was actually able to see that because of the movie theaters down here that actually independently showed it. And I'm kind of hoping the same sort of thing will happen with A Billion Lives. So I'll actually be able to see it somewhere close to home and take my friends and family, because they need to see it too. It needs to be more than just my words. They need to understand.
Yeah, and that is ultimately the goal. Get this movie in as many theaters as possible, and that's why attendance at these premieres is so important, so that Aaron and his team can demonstrate that there is a lot of interest about this topic, and that movie houses will be able to sell out the seats. And not just for one night only, but that there's enough demand to see it.
I agree. Yeah, completely agree. I'm excited. I'm jealous you're going. I'm excited you're going. I'm happy you're going. I think it's going to be amazing. Yeah. I just do.
Well, we wish you were coming. I haven't met you in person yet, so it'll be.
I know.
One of these days we're going to hang out.
We will. I mean, it's just this wonderful retail gig I've got is it doesn't work as well with the vaping events schedule as you'd think.
No.
But one of these days, totally gonna happen. We're gonna hang out. I'll let you buy me a sarsaparilla or a root beer. I don't drink. I know you don't drink. So.
Yeah. So we'll hang out in the non-drinkers corner.
Sure.
Yeah. Exactly. There's like 4 of us. So.
Oh, so there's 2 other people I haven't met yet. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that about it this week, Alex, do you think?
I think so.
Okay.
The next time I talk to you, we will be living in a post-deeming world.
Oh, good. Because government regulation makes everything better. And
No.
in case you couldn't tell, that was sarcasm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Well, I don't typically wish everyone a good week, but this is it. And so I sincerely hope that, if there's any one thing that people can do this week, it's to, kind of let's up our game in getting the word out about what's about to happen. And not just that, we need to up our game in terms of helping people understand what we need to do to hopefully fix this in the future. So this week is, I don't know. I'm not in mourning. This is all action. This is all, we need to take this opportunity and spread the word and help get people engaged.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is just the beginning. We have not even yet begun to fight. But this is people's wake-up call. That's what this week is. So, yeah, I hope everyone has a good week. Tell everyone you know about deeming. What is it? August8th.org?
August8th.org. Yep.
August8th.org. It's where people can go to find out about, maybe take action.
Take action, and that's your portal to getting educated. So
yes, exactly. All right, Alex, thank you for everything. Thank you for hanging out with us despite the audio problems, and thank you for being so cool about it. And it was great. It was great hanging out with you for an extended period of time. So go enjoy your pizza and have a great night. And thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.